What's up, guys? Welcome to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Trump Media stock, ticker symbol DJT, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day. Wednesday, April 3rd. Okay, guys, DJT stock here on Tuesday finished the day up $2.94 a share. That's plus 6.04% after the relatively large fall we've had here in the last couple of days. But today was an extraordinarily important day. We're going to talk about why. We have some really big levels being traded around here today. Let's take a look at this one, try to pull out as much bias as we possibly can, utilizing the volume profile, the psychological levels, what I expect will be higher volume trading levels, the options directional bias, and finally, the expected move. Let's take a look. By the way, listen, I know you guys have a lot of stocks on the brain. Let me know in the comments section what you guys would like me to cover. That feedback is tremendously helpful. Let's take a look here, starting with our volume profile analysis here on the 5-minute chart. All right, moves that I'm primarily interested in trying to pull some bias out of here today on DJT is going to be that pop and drop we got off the open, that big recovery that we saw up until really midday. If I can circle it here, let's see. There we go. And then a little bit on this fade and recovery, we'll kind of clump that together as one. So yeah, it's a lot of movement today that I'm interested in. Let's see what we can pull out here. Contextual open, if we compare that to yesterday, it's pretty contextual compared to what we typically see on that opening bar, at least in the last couple of days. We then get that very expected fade in volume, so nothing to see off that open. This middle move, this upside pump, we saw ascending volume on the entirety of that move, and that is, man, what is that, 7 consecutive green bars broken up by 1 red bar, and as soon as the stock pulled back and consolidated, volume dumped off to, I mean, really very low, comparatively speaking, to what it was working up to on that upside move. This is, of course, the move we're talking about. So that's going to be a relatively obvious bullish bias, and then this fade and recovery, see if we can pull anything out of there. Honestly, there's nothing here, okay? There's nothing out of context. It's all very normal. We get a couple of green bars popping upside. There's too much of a risk, though, of them not only being battle bars, you know, like wiki bars, where we're seeing a lot of buying and selling volume just battling it out, but also the fooled by randomness thing. That's a problem when you're dealing with one bar. I need to see consecutive bars that are out of context, so nothing on that next move. All we're seeing today really is some bullish bias on this kind of mid-morning upside pump. Let's take a look at the self-fulfilling prophecy psychological levels here on the 30-minute chart. You can see here that DJT did something really important today. It reclaimed that 50 period, that white line, here on the 30-minute in particular. Okay, we made a small retest heading into the close. Yeah, we held it. It's not exactly the, you know, most obvious retest we could have seen. Really, tomorrow, guys, 2 things if I'm a bull. Well, really 3 things. 1, I want to see that 50 period start to flatten out, if not curl back upside. 2, any retest of the 50 period, I want to see a high volume bounce away from that level. And 3, the ideal scenario is to make an upside move toward that 200 period, but understand that's 9% away, right? But it's possible. We've seen crazier things out of DJT. The best case scenario here would be to rip upside, reclaim the 200 period, right, on big volume, and then lower volume, make a retest, and then boom, high volume pull away, heading up toward that $58 level, which we will talk about. Bears, for you guys, it's really simple. Reclaim that 50 period as resistance, because you guys gave that up today. All right, ideally on as much volume as possible on the reclaim, lower volume on the retest, right, a lower sample size making that bet, and then boom, high volume rejection. Let's move on now to the 4-hour chart and take a look. You can see this one has become very much so in play on DJT in the last couple of days. We bounced off of that 200 period here on the 4-hour chart, and today the stock reclaimed the 50 period that we gave up yesterday on Monday. Listen, that's a great thing to see, bulls. Any retest of that 50 period, high volume bounce, right? A great thing to see. Number 2, that 50 period got over $50 a share. All that's going to do is add a psychological barrier to that $50 level, which we'll talk about here in a second. Bears. Before this 50 period starts to push higher and higher above 50, you bears, if you guys could break downside beneath not only that 50, but also $50 a share, right? You know, $50 a share and the 50 period moving average. I understand that may be confusing if I leave out the moving average part. The sooner you bears can get below that, the better, because now the level's a bit more beefy than it was just a day ago. Okay. Now, the biggest story of all here on DJT, the daily chart. This is the most obvious story, and the story that has the most eyeballs, the most people paying attention to it. What's the story tomorrow? It's the battle of 50. Okay. $50 is the big thing that happened today. DJT reclaimed $50 a share. That's a beautiful thing to see. It's a huge psychological level, the biggest psychological level that we have seen on this stock to date. And today the stock reclaimed it, but it's day one. Okay. Listen, bulls, we're not out of the woods, right? Not at all. This stock needs to hold $50 a share for at least another day or two. Day one break and holds are not definitive enough, whether it's upside or downside. Bears, you guys learned that the hard way Monday to today, didn't you? You guys broke 50 to the downside, and now it's reclaimed today. This can happen exactly the same way to the flip side, where you reclaim it and then give it up the following day. So bulls, on retests of 50, you want to see high volume bounces. Just put as much distance between the stock price and $50 a share as possible, not just for the sake of moving up, but also for the sake of the health of the psychology of this play. Bears, priority number one, give up 50 ASAP on as much volume as possible. Okay. Implied volatility is falling. Understand the lower that goes, the more IV crush you may experience if you purchased contracts, and the lower that goes, the more favorable conditions become for new options buyers to purchase new contracts. Now, let's take a quick look here at the expected move. If we look here, the next expiration we have on DJT is April 5th. That's this Friday at the close. By then, the market expects plus or minus $7.37 a share. That means by close on Friday, okay, the market's looking at this thing at somewhere around $44.50 or $59. Now, if we take that expected move, which again, the expected move itself does not have a directional bias. We get the directional bias by doing the analysis and then looking at the options bias, and then we can come to that conclusion on our own, right? The psychological levels, all of it. But the expected move gives us the volatility expectation, which is kind of like the missing piece of the puzzle, especially if you're trading options. So if you divide that by 3, the expected move by Friday, since there's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday left of this week, there's also no outsized day of like an earnings event. It gives us about $2.46 expectation per day, but that's assuming a streak. So if we add about 50% to that, because we're likely to see a mix of red and green days, right? The market's expecting somewhere around $3.68 plus or minus of movement per day. Now you decide, okay, do you think that's an overestimation, or do you think that's underestimating the potential move out of DJT in the next couple of days? If you think that's if you think that's underestimating potential volatility, maybe you're someone who's looking to purchase options, okay, that fit your directional bias. And if you think that's overestimating, you might be an options seller, okay, or potentially looking to trade some neutral spreads. Now, last thing we can do here to get some directional bias out of the market here, the options chain bias today. Look at this, 180,000 total contracts traded, 89,800 calls, 90,200 puts. It is essentially 50-50 out of the chain here today. But take a look at this. The 0 to 20 delta range, those are those short-term speculators, right? Those are actually leaning slightly to the put side. Now, volume is not tremendous, all right? So take this with a grain of salt. But those short-term speculators are actually leaning a bit to the put side. However, once you start going closer to at the money and in the money, it starts leaning more and more to the call side, that more mid and longer term outlook. Listen, guys, hey, if you found value out of this video, go ahead and send it to someone who is interested in DJT. Also, if you found value here, I think you'll also find value in our 100% free Discord. Those of you on YouTube, you can join that in the pinned comment. Those of you on Instagram or TikTok, that's in the link in the bio to let you join instantly for free. Appreciate you guys. Leave a like on the way out, and I'll see you in the next one.